Evie and Maya crept towards the sound of the choppers, taking separate positions around the perimeter of the landing area, keeping each other in line of sight. They observed as supplies and personnel were unloaded from the 4 aircraft. About a dozen people now moved throughout the clearing, including a woman who seemed to be in charge, yelling commands which the rest were following, though they weren't intelligible to Evie over the sound of the engines. The woman's functional, tactical attire showed she was a member of the Indian paramilitary security forces. She appeared to be in her mid to late 30s, with a stern expression and a distinctive scar above her left eyebrow, thin and jagged, giving her an air of ruggedness and an implicit history of close calls. Moving her gaze around the landing site, Evie saw it looked well-maintained, with signs of regular use. Compacted earth and worn vegetation. There were makeshift markers around the perimeter, indicating a designated helipad rather than a random clearing, implying clandestine traffic between the island and mainland. Evie glanced to the position in the bushes where she knew Maya was hidden and tried to telepathically share her observations about the helipad and the implication that they were on the fringes of a conspiracy against InGen and needed to tread very, very carefully. Evie returned her gaze to the personnel near the aircraft. Most of them were heading towards the jungle, carrying backpacks and equipment. A smaller group, however, was following the scarred woman towards a nearby trail, possibly leading to some existing facility or installation. Evie decided in the moment to take a risk. She rocked forward onto her feet and stood, moving stealthily towards the trail the woman and her team had taken, trying to stay hidden behind foliage as she got a better look at where they might be heading. She moved her gaze between the trail and Maya's position, hoping to remain aware of her teammates' whereabouts despite the growing distance. The distraction didn't do her any favors. Her foot came down on a twig. It snapped loudly right as the helicopter engines finally fell silent. Evie cursed under her breath. Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will. The scarred woman quickly halted her team and scanned their surroundings, pinpointing Evie's location within seconds. The operatives quickly moved for cover, fanning out and taking positions establishing crossfire on her. Evie took cover behind a large rock. She peered around the edge, assessing her enemy's formation and looking for any weaknesses or escape routes. She knew she needed to act fast before they pinned her down completely. "You're surrounded," the woman called. "Identify yourself." "You first," Evie called back. The woman paused for a moment. "Evie Jace, is that you?" Evie grit her teeth. "Does she know me? Who is this?" The woman emerged from cover, hands raised, shotgun dangling from its strap on her shoulder, as if she had just recognized the voice of an old friend, and the situation had changed completely. Confused and wary, Evie remained hunched behind the rock. "Yeah?" The scarred woman smiled and took a step forward, leaving her cover entirely. "If this is a trick, it's a risky one. What is she playing at?" Evie half rose from behind the rock to watch the woman approach. She had seen all sorts of intense things on the faces of people in life or death situations. Fear, rage, contempt, the expected human emotions. But this was different. Weak light slanted through the canopy, revealing glittering eyes. The look in them, it was something like, she wasn't even sure what to call it. Admiration? It wasn't natural. "What are the odds? I haven't seen you since," Well, it's good to see you upright. The woman gave Evie another warm look. Maternal? I still remember what he said at your bedside. Look, she's the progenitor of a new age, the next step in the evolution of man. When the time comes for her to eat of the fruit of knowledge, she won't leave Eden as an exile, but as a conqueror. The woman quirked her brow. Yes, Evie. A bit on the nose, isn't it? David is a visionary, but he has a melodramatic streak. Ah, well, maybe those things go together. The woman rubbed her palm on her thigh before offering the hand to Evie. Evie stared at the outstretched hand, mouth moving without a sound. The woman gave a small, patient smile. Screams and gunfire tore through the thick, humid air like a firecracker exploding in a jar.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Virtual Muse AI, the MST3K of RPGs. We're again using this system, Jurassic Park, Edge of Chaos. If you want or need the context for all this, I'll add a link to Session 0 in the video description, and you can get caught up with the game we're using and how this story is developing so far. Otherwise, we'll jump straight into the action. Obviously, something just started to happen. We have to decide what that is, because I have no idea. I just knew something had to happen, because Gunny was about to tell Evie more about the plot. It's too early for that, so an interruption needed to derail the scene. We'll start the new round by determining what's going on, so the characters can react to it. First, I've got something else I've been thinking about, which we should clearly define.
Sounds like we're getting into some deeper world building again. What did you want to define next?
Back in Session 2, Maya collected a handful of liverwort. She wanted it because it accelerates wound healing and prevents infection. We know what prevents infection means in real life, but in our game, since we have fungal zombies, infection is a loaded term. I was thinking, why not lean into that? We can say liverwort for whatever reason. It has the property of preventing the parasitic fungus from taking hold. Maya wouldn't know that yet, obviously, but it can be a discovery she makes during the game. Then I was thinking, in terms of a basic item, liverwort shouldn't be able to heal wounds and also prevent infection. We should pick which one of those things it does, and make it canonical that it does that. Since Maya also has a first aid kit in her inventory, I'm thinking the liverwort should be specifically for treating infection rather than regaining regular health for the sake of giving her items more of a range.
That's a good way to repurpose liverwort's properties. Having it specifically prevent infection adds depth to the world, as well as giving Maya a useful tool.
Like the herbs in Resident Evil. Different color herbs did different things.
I remember that system from Resident Evil. Using different colored herbs to represent various healing properties was a clever mechanic. Our liverwort concept reminds me of those blue herbs, focused specifically on preventing infection rather than general healing.
Okay, now we'll determine what's going on. All we know right now is SHTF, and people are screaming and shooting. Since this is Jurassic Park, I think it's an even chance that what's happening is a dinosaur burst into the clearing with the helicopters. To reflect that even chance, we'll roll 1d6 to determine the answer. 1, 2, 3, yes, it's a dinosaur. 4, 5, 6, no, something else is happening. And 2, yes, it's a dinosaur. Now we'll roll 1d12 to determine what kind of dinosaur it is from our list of 12 possible dinosaur encounters. 3, that is Hypsilophodon. More than one person is screaming and shooting, so there must be multiple Hypsilophodon entering the clearing from the surrounding foliage. In the usual order of our game, we'd now roll to determine if they're infected or not. But because of how this is framed in the narrative, I don't think that should be a random thing in this case. These helicopters just flew over this remote portion of jungle, landed in this clearing, and only turned their thundering engines off moments ago. Anything which came towards all this noise instead of running away isn't a normal animal in possession of its faculties, especially a group of herbivores like these. There's no reason for a bunch of Hypsilophodon to be here if they aren't infected, so we don't need to roll for it because of course they are. What do the infected Hypsilophodon look like?
I imagine the infected Hypsilophodon would have visible fungal growths or lesions on their skin, maybe even tendrils of fungus snaking out from their wounds. Their eyes could be cloudy or milky white, and their movements might be stiff or jerky, like they're no longer fully in control of their bodies.
Jeez, nightmarish. It's no wonder seeing a bunch of these suddenly emerge from the jungle is creating chaos with the paramilitary operatives. What are the creatures doing?
They're moving in a frantic manner, as if they're driven by a primal urge to reach the source of the noise, rather than attacking with any particular strategy. Their stiffened legs and jerky movements only add to the appalling spectacle, making it seem like they're being puppeteered by some unseen force. The fungus seems to have numbed their nervous systems, making them insensitive to pain and fear. The bullets are still causing physical damage, but the Hypsilophodon aren't reacting to their injuries as a normal animal would. They just keep moving forward, driven by the fungus's influence.
I imagine some of the paramilitary operatives are trying to maintain a disciplined, orderly response, being tactical with how they defend themselves. But others are completely overwhelmed by this bizarre danger and are running into the jungle in a panic.
Between the operatives trying to hold their ground and the ones losing control, the situation must be chaotic. I picture the sound of gunfire, screams, and things crashing through foliage filling the air.
Maya watches from her vantage point in the bushes at the edge of the clearing. No one in the clearing knows she's there yet, so she can choose her response. What does she do?
Maya likely assesses the situation quickly, taking note of the number of operatives, their positions, and the infected Hypsilophodon. She might consider trying to escape into the jungle.
What about the fact that she can't see where Evie went? Does she want to try to find Evie first?
Maya probably assumes Evie, a trained professional, knows how to handle herself in a high-stress situation like this. Maya might think Evie is hiding and observing the scene.
Good point. Last time Maya saw Evie, she hadn't been discovered yet. Maya has every reason to assume Evie is slipping away into the jungle as well, so it makes perfect sense for her to escape into the jungle herself.
Maya disappears into the trees, blending in with the surroundings as she moves to reunite with Evie without drawing attention.
Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Maya, Evie and the operatives who moved down the path are rushing back towards the chaotic scene at the clearing to see what's going on. This could be a good opportunity for Evie to break away from the operatives, since their attention isn't focused on her. But I'm not sure she wants to just run away from someone who seems to know so much and didn't get to explain anything to her yet. Do you think Evie would try to escape?
Yeah, that's possible. If she thinks she can slip away unnoticed, she might try to escape during the chaos.
Yeah, she knows she isn't going to get a better chance to disappear than this. And she's deeply suspicious of everyone, even at the best of times. She wouldn't just go along with these people. I think breaking away and rushing into the trees is a challenge, because even though the operatives are distracted, They're still professional mercenaries and have guns pointed at her. Do you think we should call this a strength or courage action for purposes of the die roll?
Breaking away from armed mercenaries requires a mix of boldness and quick thinking. I say this calls for a courage action, as Evie needs to summon the nerve to attempt such a daring move under pressure.
Evie's courage score is 3. The 1d6 roll is 2. She succeeds and manages to dart away into the dense foliage while the operatives aren't looking.
With Evie successfully escaping, she'll be trying to put as much distance between herself and the operatives as possible. The dense foliage should provide decent cover, allowing her to move quickly and quietly through the jungle.
Did Evie and Maya plan in advance where they would meet in the event of having to scatter like this?
As far as I recall, Evie and Maya didn't establish a specific meetup spot beforehand, given the fluid nature of their mission. They likely trust their individual skills and familiarity with the jungle terrain to facilitate reconnection.
Ooh, interesting. So they're separated from each other.
Separation adds tension and raises the stakes for both Evie and Maya, giving them opportunities to prove themselves individually and reunite amidst adversity. It also opens up possibilities for encountering new creatures, obstacles, and allies in the jungle.
Let's break for a message from our sponsor.
Introducing Euphorian, a bread above the competition. There are decades of experimentation behind Euphorian's patented biodynamic yeast infusion technology, allowing our dough to expand to 1,000 times its original size, as well as being the world's first room temperature superconductor. The near-perfect efficiency of energy transfer inside Euphorian dough is a marvel of material nanoengineering. When it's done revolutionizing breakfast, our bread has the potential to fuel next-generation rocket engines and revolutionize interplanetary travel. It's time your toast was unbound from the laws of gravity and thermodynamics. Euphorian, rise above the rest. Side effects may include spontaneous combustion, rocket propulsion, uncontrollable smiling.
Now that all the characters have acted, we're in a new round. That means rolling for the possible apex predator encounter, which I'm now remembering we should have done in the previous round also, but oh well. This is a d12 roll, +2 because we add +1 for all the noise, and +1 because we've rolled once for the apex predator before. 2. That's 4 with our modifiers, which is well below the threshold of 12, so no, they don't encounter an apex predator.
That's a relief, at least for now. The jungle is treacherous enough without adding a massive predator to the mix. Even though Maya and Evie are trying to put distance between themselves and the clearing, they should still be able to hear the sounds of chaos and gunfire echoing through the jungle, albeit faintly. The noise would likely carry far enough to give them some indication of how the situation is developing back there.
And what is it they hear? What's happening in the clearing?
The sounds drifting through the jungle suggest the operatives are trying to regain control with shouted orders and sporadic gunfire. The infected Hypsilophodon seem to be continuing their relentless attack, judging by the crashing and screams.
So when Gunny returned to the clearing, she took charge and tried to bring the situation under control, but the mayhem is ongoing. Maybe more infected dinos are still emerging from the jungle.
Yeah, that sounds right. Gunny's leadership skills are evident in how she tries to rally the operatives and restore order, but the situation remains intense and unpredictable due to the relentless Hypsilophodon and the operative's own panic.
Maya and Evie, in separate directions, are running away from the sound of this chaos. Under the cloudy, silvery sky, as the afternoon light fades and the storm gets closer.
The storm must be adding to the ominous atmosphere, with the clouds casting an eerie shadow over the jungle. Thunder booms and rain starts to fall.
This is a perfect cliffhanger to end the session.
Totally agree. It leaves us wanting more. What a fantastic setup for the next session. Maya and Evie, caught among the chaos and the approaching storm. So many great threads to pick up on.
Right. We'll pick it up with the characters in the jungle separately, trying to survive and reunite, while also trying to complete the mission they came here for in the first place. Until next time.
Sleeping Beast.